750,000 government workers are out of work with no pay, and it happened overnight. And honestly, I'm celebrating. Now, wait, before you click away in disgust, hear me out. Because what I'm about to show you in the next 18 minutes could be the difference between you joining them or maybe building generational wealth from their misery. I'm Dave Seymour. I've transacted millions and millions of dollars in real estate. I've survived 3 major economic crashes, and I predicted exactly this scenario 3 years ago. You see, while everybody's crying about these workers losing their paychecks, I'm going to tell you something the mainstream media won't, and something your financial advisor definitely doesn't want you to know. This isn't just about government workers. This is about every single person watching this video right now who still believes their job is safe. Because what happened to those 750,000 people, it's coming for your job next. The signs are already there. It's not maybe, it's when. And I'm celebrating because this moment proves everything I've been warning about for years. Your job, whether government or corporate, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not safe. And the sooner you accept that reality, the sooner you can start building real wealth that doesn't depend on a paycheck or somebody else for that matter. But here's what's really important and why you need to watch every minute of this video. I will reveal to you the 3 warning signs that your job is next on the chopping block. The historical pattern that creates millionaires during every government crisis, and the exact investment strategy I'm using right now to turn this chaos into what I call the biggest wealth building opportunity of a decade. I'll show you that one asset class has never failed during government breakdowns, but only if you can handle the brutal truth about what's really happening to America. It's time to smarten up. It's time to get a little wise. But first, let me show you why celebrating these job losses isn't cruel. It's the smartest financial move you can make right now. Here's something that's going to shock you. Those 750,000 government workers who are out of work with no pay, they had the most secure jobs in America. Guaranteed pensions, health benefits, job protection. This stuff the private sector workers could only dream of. And they got sent home overnight. Like that. Gone. So let me paint the real picture for you. These weren't minimum wage workers. No, these were professionals making $50,000 to maybe $150,000 a year. People with college degrees, mortgages, kids in college. People just like you. But here's what's really terrifying, and this connects directly to your job. I've been analyzing unemployment data since 2008, and there is a pattern that almost is predictable, and it's a pattern that most people miss. Every time the government, now listen carefully, every time the government cuts jobs, it creates a ripple effect that eliminates private sector positions. Why? Because the 750,000 workers were spending money at restaurants, buying cars, paying mortgages, and when their paychecks stop, entire industries feel that pain. It's the knock-on effect. But there's something even more dangerous happening. Something that makes this different from every other government shutdown in history. According to internal documents, this isn't just a temporary shutdown. The administration is using this as an opportunity to permanently reduce the federal workforce. They're calling it government efficiency. But what it really means is the largest reduction in federal employment since World War II. Let that sink in. And here's the part that should keep you awake at night. If the government can send 750,000 workers home and still function, what does that say about the necessity of those jobs? What does it tell you? And more importantly, what does that say about your job? Because I'm about to show you the 3 warning signs that your position, whether government or private, is next on the chopping block. And if you recognize even just one of these signs, you need to start preparing immediately. But first, let me share you something on a personal level that changed my entire perspective on unemployment back in 2007. Look, I was making great money in corporate America, 6-figure salary, company car, expense account. I felt bulletproof. Does this sound familiar? 2000 hit, I watched colleagues with 20-year track records get walked right out of the door in a single afternoon. That's when I realized the brutal truth that changed my entire life. There's no such thing as job security. This is a story that I had heard. But here's what most people don't understand about what's happening right now. This isn't just another economic downturn. This is a fundamental shift in how our economy operates. Technology, beautiful thing, but it's eliminating jobs faster than new ones are being created. AI, artificial intelligence, is replacing white-collar workers. Global competition is driving down wages, and now the government is proving that millions of jobs, well, they're simply not necessary. We're witnessing the collapse of the employment-based economy that sustained the middle class for 70 years now, while the rich are getting richer. But here's what really gets to, and here's what's interesting, and why you need to pay attention to every word I'm about to say. Listen carefully. Every major wealth transfer in American history has happened during periods just like this, when old systems collapse and new opportunities emerge. The Great Depression created more millionaires than any decade before it. The 2008 crisis made fortunes for those who understood what was happening. COVID-19, well, that accelerated wealth creation for investors who positioned themselves correctly. And this government breakdown is following the exact pattern. While 750,000 people just lost their paychecks, there's a specific group of investors who are positioning themselves to profit massively from this chaos. And the strategy they're using has created more wealth during economic crises than any other investment approach in history. But before I reveal that strategy, you need to understand if your job is in the danger zone, because the warning signs are already there, and most people are completely blind to them. They have no idea. Warning sign number 1, your job can be done remotely. If you've been working from home, even part-time, you're in the danger zone. Why? Because if your job can be done from the living room in Ohio, it can be done from someone's living room in the Philippines for 1/10 of the cost. It's fact. I'm seeing this across every industry: accounting, customer service, data analysis, even legal work. Companies are realizing they don't need expensive American workers when they can get the same results overseas. The government just proved this. 750,000 jobs were not actually necessary for operations to continue. How long before your company asks the same question about your position? Warning sign number 2. Your company is talking about efficiency or optimization. They're buzzwords. These are the code words for layoffs. I've consulted with dozens of companies over the years, and this language always precedes major workforce reductions. And when you hear executives talking about streamlining operations, what they're really saying is leveraging technology. Start updating your resume, because you're about to become a line item on a cost-cutting spreadsheet. But here's the most dangerous warning sign, and this one catches people completely off guard. Warning sign number 3. You're making good money, but building no wealth. This is the trap that 90% of American workers fall into. They're earning $75,000, $100,000, even $150,000 a year, but your net worth isn't growing. You're still living paycheck to paycheck with a bigger paycheck. Why is this dangerous? Because when layoffs come, and they're coming, you'll have no financial cushion, no assets generating income, no backup plan, no plan B. You're completely dependent on that job that time, which makes you, I'm sorry to tell you, completely vulnerable. Now, if you recognized any one of these warning signs, don't panic, because I'm about to show you what's next, how you can turn this crisis into the biggest opportunity of your lifetime. But you gotta understand, first things first, the rules of wealth building have changed. The old advice, save money, invest in your 401k, climb the corporate ladder, that's employee thinking. And employee thinking will keep you trapped in a system that's collapsing. And it's collapsing all around us. Let me tell you about the greatest wealth transfer in American history. It happened during the Great Depression. While 25% of Americans were unemployed and banks were failing, a small group of investors became incredibly wealthy. Well, how? Because they bought assets when everyone else was selling. Real estate that sold for pennies on the dollar. Businesses that desperate owners practically gave away. Stocks of solid companies trading for less than their cash reserves. The same thing happened again in 2008. While millions of Americans lost their homes, Investors like me were buying rental properties at 50% discount. I personally acquired 47 units during that period of time, and they're still generating cash flow today. COVID-19, same pattern. While small businesses were closing and people were losing jobs, asset prices exploded for those who understood what was happening. And now, with 750,000 government workers out of work with no pay and more cuts coming, we're seeing the setup for the biggest wealth transfer opportunity of our lifetime. But here's what most people don't understand about wealth transfers. They don't happen by accident. They follow a predictable pattern that you can capitalize on if you know what to look for. First, there's a crisis that creates fear and panic. Check. We've got that with 750,000 losing their paychecks. Second, assets drop as people sell in desperation. This is starting to happen in certain markets. Third, smart money moves into buying quality assets at discount prices. This is where we are right now. And fourth, when the crisis passes, those assets explode in value, generating cash flow and wealth for those who have had the courage to take action. Now, I've lived through this cycle 3 times now, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, this is the opportunity of right now. But you need to know which assets to buy, because not all investments obviously perform well during government chaos. In fact, most traditional investments, well, they get destroyed. Your 401k, well, it's tied to the stock market, which crashes during every crisis. Your savings account, inflation destroys its purchasing power. Your job, well, we just saw what happens to jobs. That's why I'm about to reveal the 3 asset classes that have never failed during government breakdowns. These are the exact investments we're making moves in right now, while everybody else is panicking about their job security. Asset class number 1, private multifamily real estate. While everyone's worried about the stock market and their 401k, we're looking at apartment building acquisitions. Why? Because people always need a place to live, especially during economic uncertainty. But here's the key. It has to be private real estate, not REITs or public investments. They're still attached to the stock market. When you own physical property, you control the asset. You can't get margin calls. You can't wake up to find your investment worth 50% less because of some algorithm. During the 2008 crisis, while the stock market lost 50% of its value, multifamily properties, they continued generating cash flow every single month. In fact, they performed better because more people needed rental housing when they couldn't qualify for mortgages. Makes sense. And here's something most people don't realize about government job losses. When 750,000 people lose their paychecks, they can't qualify for home loans, they become renters. Demand for rental housing increases, which drives up rental rates and property values. Asset class number 2, tangible assets that hedge against currency debasement. When governments face crises, they print money. It's what they always do and always will do. And when they print money, the value of the money decreases. But tangible assets, well, they maintain value because they represent real physical wealth. I'm talking about precious metal, land, commodities, income-producing real estate assets. Things you can touch, things that have an intrinsic value regardless of what happens to the dollar. But here's the sophisticated play that most investors miss. You don't just buy these assets and hold them. You use them as collateral to acquire more income-producing assets. It's called leverage, and it's how the wealthy multiply their returns while paying very little to the zero taxes. Asset class number 3, cash-flowing businesses that serve essential needs. During every economic crisis, certain businesses not only survive, but they thrive. Businesses that produce necessities, that solve problems, that generate cash flow regardless of economic conditions. I'm talking about storage facilities, laundromats, mobile home parks, certain types of retail businesses. Businesses that people need even when times are tough. But here's the secret sauce once again, and this is where most investors get it wrong. You don't want to operate these businesses yourself. You want to own them passively through partnerships or funds that handle all of the management. That way you sit in the cash flow and the appreciation without all the headaches. Now here's where this gets really powerful. When you combine all three classes, you create what I call a crisis-proof portfolio, a collection of investments that not only survive economic turmoil, but actually benefit from it. But there's one more element to this strategy that separates the wealthy from everyone else. And it's the most important part of everything I'm going to share with you today. Here's the hard truth that people can't handle. You can't build wealth with an employee mindset. It's not possible. You can't create financial freedom by trading time for money. And you can't protect yourself from economic chaos by depending on systems controlled by other people. If you heard nothing else, hear that. The 750,000 people who are out of work with no pay, well, they had an employee mindset. They believed someone else would take care of their financial future. They trusted the system, and the system failed them. But here's what's really important to understand. This isn't about being heartless or celebrating other people's misfortune. This is about recognizing reality and positioning yourself accordingly. Do you hear me? Position yourself accordingly. Economic disruption is inevitable. Government failures are predictable, and job losses are part of the cycle. You can either be a victim of these forces, or you can be a victor and profit from them. There's no third option. You either will or you won't. The wealthy understand something that the middle class don't. Every crisis creates opportunity, and every breakdown creates breakthrough potential. Every collapse creates the chance to rebuild stronger. And when I see 750,000 people lose their paychecks, I don't just see tragedy. I see rental demand increasing. I see asset prices dropping. I see motivated sellers and partnership opportunities. Is that cold? Maybe, but it's also how wealth gets built. The difference between those who build generational wealth and those who struggle paycheck to paycheck isn't intelligence, or education for that matter, or even starting capital. It's mindset. It's here, the 6 inches between our ears. Employees ask, how can I keep my job? Investors ask, how can I profit from the situation? Employees worry about job security. Investors build wealth security. Employees hope someone else will solve their problems. Investors, they create solutions and profit for themselves. And that brings me to the most important part of this entire video. The exact strategy that I use to turn government chaos into generational wealth. This is a system that's allowed me to build millions and millions of dollars in a real estate portfolio. The system that's generated consistent returns through 3 major economic crises. The system that's making me money right now while 750,000 people are panicking about their paychecks. But let me add something right there. People first, and I promise you profit second. Take care of those 750,000 people when I share with you the system to do exactly that. And it's a 5-step system I use to turn crisis into cash. Step 1, mindset shift from employee to investor. Now this can be the hardest step because it requires you to stop thinking like someone who trades time for money and start thinking like someone who makes money work for them. When 750,000 people lose their paychecks, employees think about job security, investors think about opportunity. Remember that. Step 2, capital acquisition through strategic partnerships. Most people think you need a lot of money to invest in real estate. It's employee thinking. Investors understand the power of other people's money. I use strategic partnerships, creative financing, and strategic debt to acquire assets that generate cash flow and appreciate in value. The key is structuring deals where everybody wins. People first, profit second. Step 3, deal identification through direct relationships. While everyone else is fighting over deals in MLS or CoStar or any one of those sites out there, LoopNet, I'm building relationships with property owners who want to sell but haven't listed yet, and commercial brokers who need to move distressed properties fast. These off-market deals are where the real money is made. There's very little competition, very little in bidding wars, just direct negotiation with motivated sellers. Step 4, risk management through diversification and structure. I never put all my money in one deal or one market. I spread the risk across multiple properties, multiple markets, multiple asset classes. But here's the key: structure every deal to minimize downside with maximizing upside. You got it? Conservative projections, multiple exit strategies, and always have a backup plan. Step 5, wealth preservation through strategic reinvestment. This is where most investors fail. They make money and then they spend it on lifestyle inflation. I like to take profits and reinvest them into more assets. Every dollar made works to make more money. That's how you build generational wealth instead of a bigger paycheck that you end up paying more taxes on. Sound familiar? Now, here's the most important part of this entire strategy. You don't have to do this on your own. In fact, you shouldn't even try to do it on your own. The wealthy understand the power of partnerships, of leverage, of pooling resources, leveraging other people's expertise and capital. That's why I've created a system that allows regular investors to participate in the same deals that we do, with the same quality of returns, without having to become full-time real estate investors. But here's what you need to understand about timing. The opportunities never last forever. Right now, while 750,000 government workers are panicking about their lost paychecks, while the media is focused on political blame games and he said, she said, while most investors are sitting on the sidelines waiting for some kind of clarity, that's when the best deals are made. When everybody's looking in the other direction. In the next 30 days, I expect to see distressed sellers, motivated partnerships, and asset prices that won't be available 6 months from now. History shows us that the biggest fortunes are made in the first 90 days of a crisis. After that, competition increases and opportunities decrease. The wealthy get wealthier by acting when others are paralyzed with fear. While everyone else is worried about their job security, you need to be building wealth security and capital preservation now, right now. While everyone else is hoping the government will save them, you need to be positioning yourself to profit from this government failure. Look, the choice is always yours. You can join the 750,000 people who are out of work with no pay, hoping someone else will take care of their financial future. Or what would it be like if you joined the small group of investors who understand that crisis creates opportunity? But you gotta decide, because the window never stays open for very long, and it definitely doesn't stay open forever. Look, I've laid out the entire blueprint for you, the warning signs, the assets, the strategy, the timing, everything you need to turn this government chaos into generational wealth. But information without action, well, it's worthless, isn't it? If you're serious about building wealth instead of just earning a paycheck, if you're ready to stop being a victim of economic circumstances and start profiting from them, then I want to help you take the next step. I've created a free presentation that shows you exactly how to partner with us on the multifamily deals that we're looking at right now. Same return profile, same opportunities, without having to become a full-time real estate investor. But here's the thing, it's not for everyone. It's not. If you want to get rich quick, get a scratch ticket, because this isn't it. If you're looking for magic bullets, go buy some crypto. This isn't it. If you're ready to think like an investor instead of an employee, then this is for you. But if you're ready to build real wealth, if you're really ready to stop depending on jobs that can disappear overnight, then this could be the most important presentation, I promise you, that you ever watch. But remember, 750,000 government workers are out of work with no pay. The question isn't whether more will follow, The question is, will you be ready when they do? You can access that video by clicking the video player that should pop up somewhere on this screen any second now. Where, I don't know. I'm Dave Seymour. And remember, Wall Street lies, but real estate never does.